Hey everybody, it's Brian from Cruisin with the Colemans, and today is a really big day for us because we are finally ready to install solar on our Coachman Apex 269 RBKS. Woo! Solar panels! Okay. Obviously this box is empty for effect. How you install solar might be different from how we're going to install it, and we are by no means experts on this. We've done a lot of research, made a lot of phone calls, talked to a lot of people who have done it before us to get the ideas of how they did it and how to best get it equipped for our rig. And we are working with Newpowa, who is setting us up with some of the equipment that we needed for this, but they have no control over this content, and I'm just a guy with a drill and a screwdriver trying to do my best. So let's see how this works. Now, as I mentioned, Newpowa did set us up with some equipment. They gave us 2 off-grid solar panels. They are 200 watt panels. Each one is a 200 watt panel. They also set us up with the Newpowa frigate charge controller. So we've got that, and they gave us some brackets, 2 sets of brackets to install the panels to the roof, and some cables and cords and things that we're gonna need. So this is what they gave us plus the panels. But I had to go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff also that they don't sell, but that we still needed in order to get this done. And all the links for everything we're using are down in the description down below. So check this out. I did buy 2 different of these glans. Now these go on the roof of the RV where you drill the hole, and they help make it all waterproof. I bought a white one and a black one because I'm not exactly sure where I'm putting it yet. And depending on where I put it, the black one will be less noticeable or the white one will be less noticeable. Whichever one I don't use is obviously getting returned. I've got some lap sealant, which is also going to help around those holes and wherever I'm putting screws into the roof of the RV for the solar panels. I have some solar fuses that are necessary to go in there. And I've got a breaker that's going to help shut off the power from the solar panels to the charge controller if there was ever a situation where I didn't want the solar panels charging. And then of course I've got some extra battery cable and the crimping tools and all of that stuff to take care of that if I need it. I'm not totally sure I'm going to need those. Actually, I don't think I will, but I've got them just in case, and they're leftovers from when I installed lithium batteries on the rig last month. And the video for our battery installation for our lithium upgrade is right up there. So make sure, is it up there or is it up there? I don't know, it's right up there somewhere. So make sure you check that out. All right, I got a lot of work to do today, and I'm trying to get this done in one day. So let's see if we can get it done. I'm starting off with the charge controller. Now our pass-through area where we're putting our charge controller and where our batteries already are is lined with carpet on the back wall. And putting the charge controller on the carpet is a really bad idea because these fins back here are gonna get really hot while the charge controller is working. So putting them up against the carpet would be quite a fire hazard. Most of the time people put them on some kind of a plywood. Sometimes they'll put them on sheet metal as a heat shield. What I'm using is a piece of 3/8 inch plywood, and I've painted it with a heat resistant spray paint so that'll help just kind of deflect some of that heat a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the screws in. I've marked where the holes are here on the back. I'm just gonna put some screws in so it's ready to snap into place once I get this piece of wood mounted inside the rig. In a previous video, we installed our lithium batteries underneath our bed. Lithium and solar do not have to go hand in hand, although most people do a lithium and solar upgrade at the same time. You can charge lithium batteries with shore power or with your truck while you're driving down the road. But solar is the most efficient way to keep them charged all the time, especially if you're going to be working off grid. You don't have to have lithium batteries with your solar panels. Your solar panel will charge a regular lead acid or a gel type battery. But again, you have a much lower amount of battery storage, so you're really just kind of wasting your money spending money for solar panels if you haven't upgraded to the lithium batteries. Our batteries are down here, they're connected up and they're ready to go. Now we're adding the solar to keep them charged up. Initially, I ran my cables through here. I'm going to take those and disconnect them. I did drill a hole in this panel also so that I can just slip it right into this spot. I've got 3 of my screws in, 4th one to go now. I missed the stud on the first one. There are some supports back here in the wall behind this, so the screws are going into those studs so that I don't have to put something on the back to help support these. The other thing that I did here was I added this rubber grommet into the hole just to help prevent chafing on the wire as it rubs back and forth across this wood. Now I'm ready to put the charge controller into place and wire it up. I took the charge controller back off the wall so you can see what I'm doing here with the wiring. So Newpowa sent me this cable. It goes from the charge controller to the batteries. All you have to do is snap off this little panel on the bottom, and they're labeled. This is for the battery, this is for the solar panels. So I'm just going to put these wires into the appropriate terminals, and then with my screwdriver tighten them down. There, and I just want to give them a tug to make sure that they're not going to come out independently of one another. Tug on them, and now they're ready to be connected onto the batteries. I don't mess with my batteries frequently enough to remember which side I should connect first, the positive or the negative. So I've given myself a little label down here: connect red, then black, disconnect black, then red. That just helps me make sure I'm always being safe when I do that. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I've got my two cables, my one to connect my batteries into parallel. This cable here is going out to my inverter. Now I've got this battery is going out to the rig, and this is now the cable that's going to my charge controller. So I'm just going to add all of those together. I had some washers on my bolt in order to help keep it snug, because I'm adding one terminal. I'm going to take one washer away and just combine all these together. Whoops. And let's see if I can get my red charge controller, my red rig, my red parallel battery, and put it all on and finger tighten it. And now I use a wrench to tighten it down nice and snug. Now I'm going to do the same thing over on the black side. Taking one of the washers off my bolt since I don't need that extra spacer now. I'm going to connect my charge controller, rig power, my battery for parallel. Everything is in place, and now you can see that I have power on my charge controller, and it's telling me all about what's going on here. So I just have to get it set up and then install some solar panels on the roof and wire them to the controller. It is time to start prepping the solar panels for their installation. One thing you need to be aware of when you're working with solar panels is that they're solar panels. And if there's any light reaching them at all, whether it's natural sunlight or even the garage lights or your workshop lights, if those lights are reaching the cells of the panel has been energized. So you do want to keep the panels covered just to protect you from that additional risk of shock through the cables that are attached. All right, so I am attaching the curved brackets that Newpowa sent us. They have curved and straight versions. There's also an adjustable version that allows you to tilt the panels up. We opted not to do that. We just went with the curved brackets. Our RV roof is flat, but these will present up to a 30% curve. So if you have a little bit of a curve to the roof of your rig, that will take care of that problem. First thing we're gonna do is bolt these brackets on, and I've got a bolt with a washer. I just set this in place, put the screw through, and then put my washers on. There's a flat washer, a locking washer, and a bolt, and I'm just gonna, for now, finger tighten them down. Now I'm installing the L-shaped bracket on. It's going so that the footprint goes outward. That way I can bolt it down from the outside. If I put it this way, I wouldn't be able to access it when I'm doing my installation. I put a bolt through here, washers once again, and finger tighten. Now that this is on, you can see how if the roof were slanted, I could curve it to follow the slant of my roof. That's not an issue for my setup, but it might be for yours. My panels are all rigged up, and I've got the foam that came on them covering them to protect them from sunlight while I'm doing my installation. And I started getting my PV wiring ready to get everything up on top of the roof of the RV in order to do the install, and I thought that there was a mistake made. They sent me one big coil of PV cable to get the power from here down into the rig. But I thought that was an issue, but it's really not, because I need bare ends of the wires at the other end to get them into the circuit breaker and the charge controller. So what I'm going to do is take my one big coil of PV with a male end and a female end. I stretched it out, found the middle, and now I'm just going to cut it in half. Now, my only problem I have is I need to make sure I keep my positive and my negative cables straight. So I'm gonna wrap tape around the positive cable on this end, some red cable, so that when I pull them both through and feed them through at the same time, when I get to the bottom, I know which one is which. Before I get up on the roof, I've decided to go ahead and run my wiring so that it's just ready to connect once the panels are up there and are installed. Now, one of the things I found out from Coachman when I talked to the team up there is that this box in the nose of our rig can easily be removed with just 4 screws. Then that's going to give me access to run my line down through the channel between the interior wall and the nose cap. I'm moved into long sleeves now because I also know there's insulation in here. I'm going to pull all that out and replace it with a higher R factor while I'm in here. So I put on the long sleeves so that I'm not getting insulation all over the place and all over me. I've also put a tarp down over our bed to not get any insulation fibers onto our sheets. We've made it up to the roof of the RV, and it's time to drill a hole. This is always scary. This always takes both of us to sign off on where the holes are going and how we're doing protection to make sure that the hole doesn't cause us water issues. My initial plan was that I was really hoping to put the glans box, which is the waterproof box that the cables, it covers the cables going into the roof. My original hope was to put them down here on the nose cap, because I know that it's a clear channel straight down once I get into that. However, as you can see, this surface is not flat enough because of the curve, which means I'm now going to put the cap right here. So I'm gonna drill in. I'm gonna drill a 3/4 inch hole, which is big enough for both of the wires to run through. And then this makes a waterproof seal. So it's got 3M tape on it. There's a receiver box. It all has 3M tape, which is waterproof. And then once I get this on, I'll also then screw it down with a couple of screws just to make sure that it's waterproof and that it is secure, not gonna blow off. Well, here we go. I did not like doing that at all. I hope I have not just created a huge problem. Stay tuned. All right, getting this cable in through the pass-through was a bear. In the end, I had to drill a second 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch hole, which is fine because it's still smaller than the area that my cover is gonna cover. So that was fine. Then from the inside, we had to drill a hole in the ceiling of the closet just to find the cable. I had fed 50 feet of cable through and it never came out the other end. Turned out it had gotten hung up on something and then was just snaking up in the pass-through. We used a what, Michelle?
A Swiffer.
We used the Swiffer head to kind of get it up around the corner and kind of snag it and hook it and pull it back down. Then I taped the second cord to the first cord and snaked it through, and we got it all through easy breezy once we found the end at the bottom. But that was a real challenge. Now I've cleaned all of this with some rubbing alcohol, and I am going to peel this off. Easier said than done. Oh, come on.
I need some Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do.
There it goes. Now I want to center this over my hole as best I can. There are 4 screw holes here. To screw this down so that it holds more snugly, the package of screws says 3M waterproof tape has enough fixing force optional to use. So for now, I am not going to use those.
Are you putting lap sealant around this?
No, you don't put any lap sealant around this because the 3M tape is waterproof. Now, there's another set of 3M tape right here that would then, when I pull all this up and cover that up and snap that into place, it would then create a double water sight seal. These screw knobs right here, when you screw them down, they compress the black rubber grommet that's in there, which then compresses this seal. It also seals that solid and it won't move. So I'm actually not going to click this in right now. I'm not going to seal that down right now because I don't know exactly how much of this cable I need up here until I get the solar panels in place. Welcome to the roof of our RV. A couple months ago, we talked to customer service at Coachman and we arranged to come up to do a factory tour. We do have a video coming up on that, and sometime in the next couple of months, we'll get that out. But you can do the same thing. Anybody can call the owner of their manufacturer, talk to customer service. If you're going to be in the area where they make them, they're always happy to take you on a little tour. Depending on how busy they are and the time of the year, you might get to see some people working in building rigs. You might not. Now, the reason we called and the reason we wanted to talk to them was about solar specifically. So we needed to know where was the best place to screw these solar panels into the roof of our RV. And what we found out was that in our particular rig, there are only 3 places where there's a beam going all the way across the surface of the RV from east to west. So that's obviously the best place to screw in. You want the leading edge of the solar panels, the edge that's against the wind when you're driving down the road, to be screwed into as solid a surface as possible. For us, we had 3 options. Back here by the air conditioner, you can see where I put the blue painter's tape. There are 2 cross beams that go all the way across the RV. Basically, they're framing the opening of the air conditioner. So the air conditioner is screwed into them. So I could put a solar panel on this blue line going backwards towards the skylight. I could put a solar panel right here, but that vent would be in the way. So that spot is out. Here, I could put a solar panel screwed into this line. The problem is it would be the back of the solar panel, the trailing edge of the solar panel, that would be the most secure. If we put in any additional panels, that's probably where we would put them. At the front of the rig, up here on our vent in our bedroom, there's another beam that goes all the way across, and I taped that one also. And that's where we're going to put the solar panels. The biggest advantage is that means I have to run the cable the shortest distance of all, and it does allow the leading edge to be the most secure, and then the panels will just float backwards behind it. I will screw them in at all 4 places, of course. All 4 corners are going to get screwed down, but the leading edge is going to be the one that's the most secure. So it's time, Michelle, to get these solar panels up on the roof. I'm glad you ate your Wheaties this morning.
I definitely did.
Did you take your vitamins?
Absolutely.
Are you ready to be fortified with a cocktail when we're done? All right, let's get to work. The first thing I've done here on each of the brackets where I'm going to mount screws, I put a piece of butyl tape. It's a gummy waterproof sealant. It remains pretty flexible even throughout time. And as you push the screws through it, it kind of threads down in and helps seal the hole that the screws are going to make. Now I'm going to just set the panel down, line it up where I want it. The panels came with self-tapping screws, which is good because I am going to be going through metal here, not just the wood. And they have a little rubber washer built into them. So I don't need anything else. And I'm just going to pop the first one in and hopefully it goes easily. The last step for securing the panels to the roof is to go along and put some lap sealant over each of my screw holes, just to make sure that they're also sealed from the top so that moisture doesn't get in and cause problems.
Would that be the second to the last step? Because then you should uncover them.
Can't uncover them until I have them connected to the charge controller, which is not going to happen tonight. It's time to start connecting panels to one another. So here is what I have for the process. I told you about these splitters. So the positive splitter, the positive of one panel is clicking in and it just snaps into place. The positive of the other panel is going to snap into place. The negative from that panel and the negative from this panel. Now I do have a fuse, so this is a 30 amp MC fuse that goes in. That snaps into my positive. There we go. And now it's going to go into my positive that runs down, but I'm not going to plug it in yet until I get everything connected to the charge controller on the other end. My negative will go into my negative cable here. Hey there, we're on day 2 of this project. We got to a point last night where we just said enough was enough. It was time for dinner and I didn't want to come back out and work anymore after that. So it is now the next morning and we are finishing things up. So I just drilled a hole for my solar wires to come into the pass-through. And now I need to install this breaker. Then I'm gonna run my cables from the pass-through into the bed area and start hooking things up. Well, I'm down in my pass-through. Now over here, you can see where my wires have come down through the nose. Now I need to pass them through this channel up here. By the way, there was a wall here that I took out. It was just a piece of paneling, took that wall paneling out. There was some insulation in here, removed all of that, and did the same thing on the other side, which you're gonna see in just a second. So now I need to pass these wires through this channel, and they're gonna come back out over on this side, right here. Now I do need to drill a hole right there still, so I have somewhere for them to pass through, and then they're gonna go into the bed through that hole. Getting these wires run through the channel is kind of difficult because, you know, once I'm threading that needle, I could push them through, but they're just gonna kind of get all mixed up all over the place and God only knows where they're gonna end up. So in order to guide them the right way, I've taken a string, tied it around the cables, tied them together. I have put a bolt on the other end, and I have a really strong magnet that's gonna help me just lead them right through the channel. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. Let's see if it works today. So I'm setting that there. I just found the bolt. The string is picking up. Take it right through to this side. There it is, out the other side. Now, I just feed my wires, and there they are. I can remove my piece of string and feed them right into the bedroom area. I have my cables run through, I shorten them down. Make sure anytime you cut the cables, you mark your red cable, your positive cable with some red tape if it's not a red cable, so you don't lose track of which is positive and which is negative. I've gone ahead and stripped the ends of those, and I'm going to attach them into my breaker. So I just have to set these 2 cables into the terminal and screw them down tight. Pull on them independently to make sure that they are not gonna slip out. Strip 2 more cables, pieces, to go into the other end. Give those a tug to make sure my breaker is off. Now I'm just gonna snap this into place. And my breaker is all set. All right, once again, I've removed the charge controller from the wall just to make it easier to access and so that you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm taking my red cable that I have here, I'm putting it into the terminal for the solar panel, tightening that down. Got a little pull, seems secure. Put the negative terminal in. That a tug, seems secure. One thing I didn't show you when I was putting this in during the first initial installation of this is a little external thermometer that hangs down, and I just had to snap that into place. Now I can line up my screws. Those are in. Line up my screws over on this side. Those are in. And the whole thing is in place and ready to power up. So now I am just going to snap these little covers back on. And this top one is actually really just cosmetic so that the whole thing looks uniform from top to bottom. I need to get the vacuum in here to clean up all my mess. And I am ready to connect power to the charge controller. I said earlier that I put the fuse on the positive line, and now I'm going to connect my positive cable that's running through the nose onto that fuse until it snaps into place. I heard the click. Now I'm going to take the negative and attach the negative. And as soon as I uncover these panels, we should have solar power running through these cables and into our charge controller.